Well, as you know, on this show, it is always my goal to give you easy, actionable tips, content, and strategies that you can use to manage your money well and to build generational wealth. But today, we're going to do something different. We're going to focus on how to break generational poverty.
Welcome to the Wealth Nation podcast, a podcast for every mother, daughter, grandmother, sister, and wife, and the men who are smart enough to tune in. The Wealth Nation podcast brings you all you need to know about investments, business, property investments, personal finance, and all-around financial wellness. Here is your host, Yolanda Rose.
Thanks for joining me on another episode of the Wealth Nation podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on whichever platform that you're listening on. Also, if you want to hear something specific on the show, reach out. It's Yolanda at financiallyfabulousfemales.com or send us a message on any of our social media platforms. And if you're not following us, check us out. It's Financially Fabulous Females on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube as well. The Wealth Nation podcast is sponsored by Financial Success Summit 2021. Now, this is a conference that I am putting together. I am getting the top folks in their industry, from property to Bitcoin to formal investments, banking, short-term insurance, budgeting, all of the tools, all of the tips, all of the tricks, all of the strategies that you need to break free financially. I'm getting all these folks together in one virtual room that's happening on the 17th and 18th of April 2021. So if you want to get tickets to this event, go to the website. It's www.financialsuccesssummit.net and buy those tickets. Tickets are selling for just 99 Rand. And if you use this coupon code for a limited time, you can get early bird tickets. So go and shop for tickets. You're going to get a 60% discount and pay just 40 Rand for 2 days of power-packed financial advice. Use coupon code early bird at checkout. This offer expires on the 31st of January 2021. So today we're talking about something different. We always talk about making money and moving from an okay place to a really great place. But today we're talking about breaking the chains of generational poverty. And I recently, a couple of years ago, I think, I wrote a thesis about the effects of financial planning with women. And in one of the segments that I researched, I spoke about intergenerational poverty. So let me get started with this. Let me read what I've written for you. Well, it's very academic, so I'm going to basically summarize it because it's going to be very boring if I read it as it is. Okay, teen pregnancy is a catalyst for intergenerational poverty, as long-term stable employment may be out of the reach for teenage mothers. Lifestyle patterns of income, social grant dependence, patterns of marriage, education level, employment, child rearing, and attitudes pass on to the next generation, continuing the cycle of poverty through the generations. Now, there's a strong correlation between daughters having a teenage pregnancy and their mothers who have had 1, 2, or 3 teenage pregnancies. Teenage mothers trapped in the cycle of poverty might get learning and income opportunities in the future, and this might provide subtle relief to immediate poverty. However, this does not have an impact on children born out of teenage pregnancies, keeping them trapped in the cycle of poverty as a result of lack of investment in human capital. The mobility out of intergenerational poverty occurs when education attainment and long-term income is secured. Improving education attainment and opportunities for income for those in poverty will continue to lessen the impact of poverty in the lives of parents. However, this does not remove the children from the cycle of poverty. All right, so today on the show, we're going to talk about 3 things to break the chains of intergenerational poverty. And this excerpt that I've just read is from my thesis. And you see that the main theme there is one of the drivers of generational poverty being teenage pregnancy. Because once you're in that trap, you're in that trap. It's very difficult to break out, especially here in South Africa. You've got this 400 Rand some change grant going to the children.
Raising financially savvy children involves teaching them a variety of skills, from budgeting to planning to earning and saving. Besides giving them an understanding of the value of a rand, it prepares them for real-world finances. Financial literacy is a vital skill, and it is never too early to teach your kids about money. Many parents wonder how they can teach their kids about money, and where to find age-appropriate resources. You can now purchase the Financial Literacy for Kids workbook, which is aimed at primary school kids. It's now available at www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com. This workbook provides you with 12 lessons, activities, lesson plans, discussion points, and quizzes that you can use to test your kids' knowledge. Shop now at www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Tuned In. Now back to the show.
African children will make up half of the world's poorest people by 2030 if nothing is done to reverse the various trends. Now, there's been a lot of growth in Africa, and even though with the growth, 1 in 5 children will live in poverty because of high fertility rates. And it doesn't mean that Africa is doing all the damage here. It's just that it means that other groups are able to pull themselves out of poverty and leaving Africa in that group of really having a lot of children stuck in poverty by 2030. On average, African women have more than 4 births each. Their share in the global poverty will double to 43%. So we can see that pregnancy and having multiple births when you can't afford to support children is one of the greatest barriers to poverty. And we have this problem in South Africa. People are making babies that they can't afford at an alarming rate. In fact, I'm sitting in front of a graphic that was produced by, I think it was the Mail and Guardian. And if you want to have a look at the graphic, you can go to our website. It's www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com. And I will place the graphic on this podcast on intergenerational poverty. And so you can search for it and have a look at it. So in there is the graph. And the graph has the 4 racial groups. Unfortunately, it's broken down by race. And you'll see the birth rate of the white, colored, and Indian population are really, really, really low. In fact, you'll find the white population group actually in the negative. The white group actually has a negative population growth rate in South Africa. Then you have the black population group extremely high. All right, and this is one of the contributing factors to the financial disparity and the economic disparity that we have in our country, and it's only going to widen if we can't get the birth rate under control. Now we see, I've read out the statistics. It comes from an organization called ODI. ODI is the Overseas Development Institute, and they've done this research and told us that Africa is where the poverty is going to be, and one of the biggest contributors to that is going to be the uncontrollable birth rate that is coming out. Now, there are various other aspects to look at. The report has indicated the cultural aspects. People are not willing to use contraception to control the birth rate. Contraception is seen as distasteful, causing harm, and people seem to be very ignorant about it. And this mostly is coming from out of West Africa. But government has done so much. I mean, we're always quick to criticize government, right? But, they distribute free condoms. They have their various family planning programs. And unfortunately, we have abortion in our country, which I'm totally against. I would rather have an abortion-free society. But we have all of this there, and we're still in high levels of poverty. And we also have the grant system that sort of feeds into this very high birth rate that we have, where people are having babies just to secure that grant. And it's very unfortunate because it's such a small amount of money. But how do you survive on a 400 Rand some change a month? Babies are not cheap. All right, so we're going to look at the 3 ways on how we can break the chains of generational poverty. And the first thing is education. And this is one of the greatest tools in improving your finances, education. And that's what been one of our major focuses over the last couple of years at Financially Fabulous Females, is to focus on financial education. And we have this platform and YouTube and Facebook and our private members group as well, where we educate you about finance. And, you get the generics about finance, budgeting, credit cards, but we give it to you specifically in a South African context. Now, 4-year degree is helpful, but the graduate sitting at home might not agree with you because they can't get jobs. There's other ways. It's not the only way to get a better education. There are other programs, vocations that you can follow to get an education. Now, the key here is to research the options that will get you an education. And there's various organizations in South Africa that allow you to study further, various bursary options, funding options that government provides to help you get an education. Now, a degree does not guarantee you financial security. It doesn't even guarantee you a job in South Africa. And it's hard to get a job when you don't have job experience. And this comes from somebody who has never been employed in this country. I've always been in business in this country. I've never been employed here. So one of the greatest tools to get yourself out of poverty is education. And unfortunately, people need to make use of the various free options using internships, apprenticeships to try and get any sort of skill behind their back. And I know it's very difficult to do, thinking long term in terms of education, a degree, and things like that, when you can barely survive the week or the day, for that matter. The second thing you got to do is invest. Now, one of the reasons some populations are more likely than others to struggle to overcome generational poverty is due to the lack of financial knowledge on topics such as investment. And like I said, there's free information on our YouTube channel. I've given you tons of free information there on investing. And while investing is a topic that many people struggle with, the reality is that some populations struggle more than others. A lot of folks are more geared towards reducing their debt, which is good, more managing the cash flow and saving and money under the mattress and a fixed deposit. But that's not really gonna make you break free economically. You have to be investing in the long term. And if you don't have the right kind of education, linking back to the first point, you're not going to be inclined to invest. So get educated about investing. Even if you don't have a cent to invest right now, you got to have your mind in the right place, have your mindset in the right place. Listening to this podcast is a great start, but there's tons of other information out there that you could be utilizing. So when that opportunity comes, you can start investing from 10 Rand. I always tell you that if you listen to my past podcast, I'll give you options from investing from just 10 Rand a month, and you can get going with something. When you make investing a priority, even if you start with just a retirement account, you're taking a solid step towards building wealth. Make investing an automatic part of your financial planning, and you can begin to break out of the cycle of poverty. Now, in any highway you go, drive past in South Africa, you'll always find a squatter camp. And nowadays, a squatter camp will at least have 30 to 40 satellite dishes, depending on how big the squatter camp is. Now, imagine if those people chose to invest their money, if they had their money they had their heads in the right space. A DSTV subscription, the cheapest one is what? I don't have DSTV, so I don't really know. So I'm assuming it's around 200-300 rands or so. 200-300 rands over 5 years is a lot of money. Let me show you an example of how you can break the cycle of poverty in the long term. Let's say you have a child. You put in 10,000 Rand into a retirement account in South Africa for your child. All right? Because it's a retirement account, the child cannot touch that money. Let's safely say that we are getting 8% a year. 8% a year is fairly average if you are in the right kind of portfolios, you're looking at it and you're monitoring it well. So let's say you're getting an 8% return a year, all right? And you don't put in any other money other than that. That 10,000 Rand over 65 years is about 1.4 million rands. Now imagine if your parents did that for you. If your parents put down, it couldn't be 10,000 Rand when you were born, maybe something more equivalent, inflationary equivalent to that time. But 1.5 million at retirement can make a huge difference. It could make a huge difference to how you spend your money now. You can put less money away at retirement and put more towards aggressive investing. It just changes things. So I challenge you that if you're really struggling, you're barely making it, you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you are willing to make the sacrifice to ensure that the next generation in your family is able to break free from poverty, I challenge you to do this for your child. To put in an amount, 1,000 Rand, 2,000 Rand in a retirement annuity for them and forget about it. Give it to them as a gift. Leave it to them in your will or something like that. Let it be for them. It can change things. And I know you're thinking 1,000 Rand is a small amount, but over time, compound interest it can make a huge difference to how the child manages money, to know that they can go into a workforce. They already have a significant retirement in place, all from a small seed. It's just that one small investment that you can make into your child's future. And it's even something that they continue. Instead of them starting at zero, they're starting miles ahead of their peers at this very same age. Imagine if they enter the workforce with already having 300,000 Rand in retirement savings left. They're thinking different. Their confidence is more up. They're more interested to know more. The mindset will change. So the next thing that you consider to get yourself out of poverty is mentorship. Now consider looking for someone who can help you to overcome generational poverty. You don't have to fix your finances on your own. In fact, a mentor can help you find a better paying job or set you on a more lucrative course for study. Now, coming out of generational poverty, it's something that will take two or three generations to come out of. My great-grandmother was a domestic worker for a Norwegian missionary. Okay, she had my grandfather. My grandfather was waitering, an Indian waiter in Durban, 40s, 50s, and 60s. That's what he did. The thing that broke us free was his education. While waitering, he took a course. And, during that time, our history, how it is, Indians couldn't study anywhere. And in fact, there was a guy called M.L. Sultan who developed a university or a training school for Indians. And my grandfather was able to study at the school. He studied catering. And with that catering qualification, he was able to move up into management. So with management comes the various perks and pension and whatever. So he got a little bit financially savvy. So he eventually ended up in management for a missionary hospital. He was the head of the kitchen, senior manager. And from there, my mom was able to get into nursing. It's just that one thing. Imagine if he didn't study. He would still be in that waitering circle, bussing tables, living on tips. But he made that sacrifice to do this course. In fact, I have a certificate in my kitchen. So I will never forget the sacrifice that he made. That one sacrifice 3 generations ago or 2 generations ago that changed the whole trajectory of my family. That one educational qualification. All right. So if you are in that position where my grandfather was back in the day, be willing to make that sacrifice where you don't see anything in your generation, but your seed, your family down the line will be able to see the fruits and appreciate the sacrifices that you have made. So my grandfather got his studies done, moved into upper management, got a pension plan, got insurance, and my grandfather died young in his early 50s, leaving my grandmother a young widow, for something. And it was his insurance and his pension that was able to take care of my grandfather. And luckily, my grandfather left her house as well. All assets which were leveraged to make my grandmother's life more comfortable. My grandmother was a housewife. She didn't have any working skill to go out and work once my grandfather died, and he took care of his family. My mother went into nursing. My mother has all sorts of degrees. She's got a master's, traveled all over the world. And then there's me. I've studied further. I'm into finance. I'm into business. All right. And for in our family, that turning point was my grandfather, who made that sacrifice to go and study. And my challenge to you today is to, if you are in the situation, is to make that sacrifice for your family. One of the hardest things about moving forward in your career and in your finances is knowing how to take the next step and seeing yourself in successful people. Now, a mentor can help you move forward. A mentor can connect you to educational and information resources that can help you transform your own life. Now, back in the day, my parents and my grandparents, they didn't have podcasts like this one. All right, so if you're looking for a mentor in finances, we have the mentorship program called Wealth Insiders, where we take in a group of people. We give you all of the resources you need. We constantly training you, exclusive training once a month, and those resources are available for you 24/7, so you can learn whenever you want to learn. Previously, if you wanted a mentor, you had to work on their timetable. You had to be somewhere at 8 o'clock because it's convenient for them. You don't have to do it now. Especially when it comes to finances, I have the resources available to you. So reach out if you want to join this membership. It's called Wealth Insiders. Tons of information that help you guide you through the South African financial system, where you can leverage, what you can leverage, how you can leverage, and you have access to me as well. where we can sit down one-on-one and we can work on your finances. So go check that out. It's www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com/join, and you can get into the Wealth Insiders program. It's currently, the price is 250 Rand a month, which is an absolute steal to get access to such exclusive information, and it's very customized information. We will respond to you as well. All right, so those are the 3 things that you need to get out of generational poverty: education, investing, and mentorship, all of which we provide for you on the Financially Fabulous Females platform. All right, so that's it for me on this episode of the Wealth Nation podcast. I will chat to you soon.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to visit our website at www.financiallyfabulousfemales.com and sign up for our free investment masterclass.